Toward the end of third grade, I began making these out-of-place noises. And I remember my dad would sit me down multiple times a week and say, "Felicia, you have to stop making these noises. It's distracting and unfair to the other kids." And I would just sit there and uncomfortably say, "Can't help it," wondering, what the heck is wrong with me? Can you imagine going through life not knowing why you're so different? That was my reality for most of my life. But this particular mystery ended in 2011 when my dad brought me to his neurologist, who diagnosed me with Tourette's syndrome. Tourette's is a neurological condition characterized by involuntary movements and noises known as tics. From that day on, I had my diagnosis. I knew what it was, but that didn't mean others did. It's been 13 years since, and Tourette's is still misunderstood and under-recognized, but we have the power to change that. Kids with Tourette's are at higher risk of being bullied because peers don't understand the condition. According to the CDC, bullies target those who seem different. What's worse is we're treated differently by other adults. I mean, what's more noticeable than a kid walking down the hallway while barking? Yeah, Tourette's is very noticeable. But kids seeing these out-of-place noises and movements don't interpret it as a condition, but rather the child joking around or acting out. In my personal experience, I've been mocked, I've been called a hamster, I've been stared at by children and adults alike, and I've been asked to stop despite telling them my diagnosis. But they don't know what it is, and they won't ask. Just earlier this year, I was walking down the hallway at my own school. Ticking as usual. You always know my location that way. Just to hear my tick echoed back at me from down another hallway. Tourette's is like an iceberg. You only see what's above the surface, the ticks themselves. You miss the majority of the iceberg, everything below the water. That is, the comorbidities, the rage, the sleep issues, and more. Most importantly, you miss the cause, the premonitory urge, which is this itch-like sensation in our head, felt by those with Tourette's. That can only be relieved by performing that tick. You see, we don't want a tick, we must. Those kids probably didn't know I had Tourette's. They just heard me making this weird noise, thought it was funny. So it's easy to assume when you only see a fraction of the issue. But when I was first diagnosed, I looked to the internet for more information, and I stumbled upon a video of a man ticking on a subway. He was repetitively swearing, to no one in particular, oblivious of those behind the camera, laughing at him. It was the second top hit of Tourette's on YouTube. I was horrified to say the least. Which leads me to my next point. The media portrays Tourette's inaccurately. A study done on the public perception of Tourette's on YouTube found that of 41 videos, 22% portrayed Tourette's negatively, but was associated with more views. So we watch what's interesting, what grabs our attention. And this guy taking on a subway is what's definitely going to get our attention more than a informative talk by a professional. The problem is, as a study done by the University of Kent found, is that the media forms the primary source of information for young people on Tourette's. And this results in a skewed and inadequate knowledge of the condition. People are going to remember Tourette's for this guy on the subway because it piqued their interest and it was in a format they were influenced by. But they're seeing, not learning, for one extreme example. That's all it takes to perpetuate the stigma, a stigma that says Tourette's means you swear. When in all reality, this man likely suffers from coprolalia, which is not a form of Tourette's, also heard of as the swearing tic. It's its own condition, just seen most in those with Tourette's. Now you might say it's 2024, and Tourette's is more widely known because from the years of research comes an ever-increasing rate of diagnosis. I frequently hear my friend or my cousin has Tourette's. However, that Kent study also found that those with relatives having Tourette's also acquire their knowledge from the media. And we've already seen how stigmatized and inaccurate the media is on Tourette's. Can you guess how comprehensive that relative's knowledge is? It isn't. Few short videos with examples and tidbits of facts is a vague understanding at best. But those relatives, they give me hope. Because they help me spread the word about Tourette's. Like a domino effect. They tell others around me, I tell people around me, then those peers tell other peers. And before you know it, I'm accepted in this group or environment. But if relatives lack understanding of Tourette's, what about doctors? I'm sad to say that even medical professionals lack awareness and education on Tourette's. A study done at the University of Wisconsin and the University of Milwaukee tested this by sending tests to doctors and psychologists on Tourette's. Of the 67 surveys that came back completed, doctors got a mere 77% of the general knowledge correct. 77%! If Tourette's was a class, they just got a C+. How can they help me if they don't understand me? They may do more harm by triggering my Tourette's. Now I know what you're thinking. How can we be so hard on people not knowing more about Tourette's when Tourette's is rare? Tourette's is not rare at all. According to the 2010 census by the Tourette Association of America, 500,000 children have a tic disorder in the US. 300,000 of them have the specific tic disorder I'm speaking to you about today, Tourette syndrome. In order for a condition to be considered rare, its prevalence has to be 200,000 or less affected individuals. But at the end of the day, individuals with Tourette's are suffering from the misconceptions and misunderstandings within society, because far too many peers, adults, and even medical professionals lack awareness and a comprehensive understanding of the condition. And when they do hear of Tourette's, their exposures from the media perpetuating stigmas and worst cases rather than make sense of it. It all boils down to awareness versus acceptance. Awareness I see as recognition. People know the condition exists, and they might hear me tick and say to their buddy, "Hey, she has Tourette's." And while this is a great first step, it adds labels and separates groups. Acceptance I see as those groups all blending together and treating each other with respect, no matter the disability. A point where there is no fear or discomfort around disabilities, and people are seen for the person they are first. I feel accepted and seen in programs for the blind and visually impaired in my state. But how do we get there? For one, doctors need to be further educated on Tourette's, and the media needs to better and more accurately represent Tourette's. But these aren't things we can easily change today. There are things we all can do, however. We need to stop dancing uncomfortably around disabilities. In my experience, people with disabilities are more open than you think. So ask. Ask in a polite way they can decline. What I mean by this is out and about, people typically want to be left be. They want to shop like everybody else. But in more interpersonal settings, maybe you sit next to this kid every day in class, it might be more appropriate to say, "Hey, may I ask why you're making these noises and movements?" I know, asking to ask may seem odd, but it gives them the chance to decline and not trap them in this, at times, uncomfortable situation. When the diagnosis is given or offered up, don't shy away not knowing. Ask. Can you tell me more about the condition? What is Tourette syndrome? To really understand the condition, go to credible sources like a .gov or edu. Please, and talk to the people with it. Please tell your friends, spread the word, because with one question and one Google search at a time, we can get to acceptance. Thank you.